Well, countries like Canada are opening their borders to travelers, they say, in the coming weeks. We'll see what happens. Cruise season has set sail and more passengers are flying once again as people are growing more comfortable with traveling during the pandemic. But a lot of questions still linger about mask policies, what's different for vaccinated and unvaccinated travelers, and where can you travel now? So Ginny Maurer from Cruise Planners is joining us to get you answers. Here's how you text her a question. The number is 336-379-5775. Remember, this is a text only, so don't call. So, Ginny, first and foremost, I know you just got back from a cruise. So what was the big thing, the big takeaway for you about what has changed?
So the big takeaway for me is this is the time to cruise. So I was actually on a cruise ship that holds normally 3,500 passengers, and the cruise ships are making sure there is plenty of room for social distancing. So there were only 1,000 passengers on board. It was amazing. It was also the cruise ships coming out of Florida are only allowing approximately 5% of people who are unvaccinated. So once we were on the ship, the only time we were wearing masks was in the hallways. So it was wonderful.
Okay, so we kind of went over a little bit of what cruises look like. Sometimes masks are necessary. Testing required. Can we go over that?
There is, if you are vaccinated, there is not any testing required. Those that are not vaccinated do have to do multiple tests before, when they get there. They also will test approximately every 2 days.
All right, and what about getting off the ship? Were you able to do excursions, and how does that looking for most folks?
So again, it depends on where you go. I actually went to Nassau and Royal Caribbean's private island, and I was able to get off and do whatever I want. Again, if you were not vaccinated, you did have to stay in a tour with the cruise ship. But different islands do have different regulations.
Okay, and so you were saying that they have diminished capacity, so you didn't feel like it was usually the full, shoulder-to-shoulder cruise experience, which may be kind of an upside.
Exactly. It was amazing. There was no looking for chairs by the pools, no waiting in lines. It was phenomenal.
Okay, so with that, let's talk about some travel industry changes. Kind of like what changes have you noticed in recently in the travel industry? What locations are open and that kind of thing?
So as of right now, there are about 75 locations that are 75 countries rather, that are either open or getting ready to open in the next couple of weeks. Also, Canada that's been one of the ones that's been a big holdout. Canada is opening in the next couple of weeks, along with the Canadian waters, which are scheduled to open up in November. One thing I can say is that there are still lots and lots of different requirements. Most of these countries will either have negative PCR test requirements or vaccine requirements, and some will have both. So it's very important that you check with a professional that's going to be able to keep track of those for you, and they're changing still daily.
Yeah, they are changing daily. And that was something that was interesting to me, is who is the one who determines whether or not you need a vaccination or not? Is it the airline? Is it the cruise line? Is it the country? Is it all of it?
It's a little bit of all when it comes to a cruise, but primarily when you are flying, and this is a big, sense of, people, there's a lot of confusion. The airline monitors it. It is their responsibility to make sure that you have the correct paperwork, the correct vaccinations, the correct testing to get on board their plane. However, it is the country where you are going, the destination, that determines what the requirements are.
Right, so don't just look on Delta or American and say, oh, I've checked the boxes for them. You have to check the box for the country that you're going to, or even passing through. Is that true too if you have a connecting flight?
That is true. Some of the countries, especially when going to Europe, Asia, depending on where your layover is, and even if it's just a layover, you're not leaving the terminal, they are requiring that you have testing on for their country's requirements too. So it's very important to check each and every step of the way.
All right, this is good to know. All right, you can continue to text your questions. The number at the bottom of the screen there, 336-379-5775. We'll be right back.